Hey everyone, Ace of Clay here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another sculpting video. Today I will be sculpting Edward Scissorhands. This was a highly requested character. You guys have been asking for him left and right, and I'm finally going to bring him to you today. I'm really excited to make this guy because there are so many details that I'm going to be able to cram into his tiny little body, and really excited to get started. Just to give you a little bit of background, Edward Scissorhands is yet another Tim Burton character. Tim Burton actually directed and produced the movie Edward Scissorhands back in 1990, and it stars Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder. The story revolves around a scientist who starts to create Edward and ends up dying before he's finished, so it leaves Edward with this crazy, outlandish appearance, and he's just an outcast the whole movie. He falls in love with Winona Ryder, and it's a great story. So check it out if you got a minute. I 10 out of 10 would recommend this movie. Now without further ado, let's get started. So this video is actually going to start out a little bit differently. I actually made the armature for Edward off camera. I figured since I've done armature so many times on this channel, there's really no need for me to do it in every single video. If you disagree, let me know in the comments and I will be more than happy to do the armature in every video. So basically this is the same system that I've been using forever, but this time I did use Super Sculpey Ultralight instead of aluminum foil. And what I did was I drilled the 2 holes into my wooden plaque. I shaped out the legs and torso from my aluminum wire, and then I attached the arms with some smaller gauge wire, and then I bulked out the torso with some of that Super Sculpey Ultralight. I love using Ultralight to bulk up my sculptures. It kind of takes longer than aluminum foil because you have to wait for it to bake and harden, but at the end of the day, I feel like it is much easier to use than aluminum foil. So instead of shaping out this big sheet of foil, you can actually sculpt the underlying structure of your figurine out of the Super Sculpey Ultralight, and like the name suggests, it is extremely lightweight. It's very marshmallowy and soft, and I love using it. I love just squishing it, to be honest with you. But anyway, if you want to see how I make armature from start to finish using Ultralight, I will link a couple videos below and in the info card sections that you can check out. I use the exact same process for this guy. So now that the armature is complete, I can go ahead and start adding my final layer of clay. For this project, I want to use Super Sculpey Firm. Got a couple boxes of it here. So we're just gonna take out our clay and then start conditioning it, and then we're gonna start with the legs, work our way up to the torso, and then the arms. So let's get started. This firm is really fresh, but it is still significantly firmer than Super Sculpey Original, which is exactly what I want for this project here. Just want to condition my clay, and then I want to bring up, of course, a picture of Edward. Now this guy is wearing a tight leather outfit, so it's really just going to form to his body. I'm basically going to be sculpting a naked person, and then I'm going to add the details from the costume onto that. I don't have any crazy folds and wrinkles to create or anything like that. I'm kind of just, working off the figure. All right, so I'm going to start with the thighs and then work my way down to the calves. So I'm just going to roll out a snake here. Thigh number 1. Now here's a fun little anatomy fact on the muscles. The front of your thigh is curved outwards and the back of it is flat. A lot of people like to do it the other way around because that just seems natural, but it's actually curved in the front, flat in the back. I learned that in a drawing course and it made a world of difference. Now I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna give him a butt, not a dump truck. So now we're ready to cover that torso. Press it over the top so I get a nice even sheet of clay covering that torso. So far, so good. I'm liking how this looks. We're gonna go ahead and start the calves. I don't know if you ever wondered what my tools look like. Here they are. Look at that professional setup. Got my Excel blades in there, my Excel tweezers, all my rubber shapers and ball styluses, and then that stainless steel sculpting set. Got a lot of sculpty tools and a random paintbrush that shouldn't be in here. And yeah, let's get these calves done. Shoes are just very simple. I thought they were like those tall like boots that you'd get from like Hot Topic back in the day, you know what I'm talking about, like the really like high like platform ones. Why was I thinking those are the shoes he wore? They're literally this little like, they're almost like socks, thin and not too crazy. Sometimes I think like, you know, if the video comes out on Saturday, it's not the end of the world, but I don't want to let you guys down. And you guys are doing other fun stuff on Saturday. You're not sitting on YouTube, are you? Oh, and I want to know too, do you like the longer videos or do you want me to go back to 15 to 25 minutes instead of like 35 to 45 minutes? Let me know that, because I know 45 minutes is pretty long, but at the same time, I feel like I can pack in like more information and more value that way. And it's not just like, what did I just watch kind of thing, but I know some of you like the faster stuff, so let me know what video length you like. All right, there we go. We got the legs, feet, and torso figured out. The proportions are pretty good, surprisingly, for not measuring anything, because you know I don't like measuring. Now for the next step, I think we're gonna start the details on the body. All right, I'm looking at another picture of his shoes, and it looks like they come to a point. So we're gonna have to adjust these really quick. So I'm just literally going to cut off the squared ends and we're going to just adjust them to be pointy instead. So those are a little better. Those are pointier. We can mess with them a little bit more later. So for all the details that I'm going to add, it's going to be a combination of subtractive and additive sculpting. So I'm going to press in some of the details, and then I'm going to add more clay to create other details on top of that. He's got a ton of detail all over his body. He's got these straps everywhere and everything's different. The two sides aren't the same. He's very like asymmetrical, and we're just gonna have a lot of fun with it. So I've got a picture of his actual costume here, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. So I think we should start with the bottom of the legs. Looks like he's got a boot on one leg, and then he's got like a shorter boot type situation on the other leg. But there's a lot of belts, there's a lot of buckles, there's a lot of metal, there's a lot of black. So we're just gonna start at the bottom and work our way up and see what happens. So first I wanna start with that boot. I'm gonna get my pasta maker on a pretty skinny setting, and I'm just gonna roll out a snake of clay, and we've got the top edge of our boot. Now let's attach it. Okay, so now it looks like he's got, okay, I found a really good picture of his legs. I think this is an actual like movie reference photo. So let's start on those details. A lot going on here, but I'm not gonna let it intimidate me. And we're just gonna kind of roll with it. Let's see what happens. So we're gonna start by pressing out some of the wrappings on this foot here. There are some little wrinkles down here where the leg meets the foot. So we're going to go ahead and add those in with a snake of clay. That looks pretty good. Does he have the same thing on the other leg? Yes, he does. But you see how that strategically placed simple snake of clay turned it into this like lumpy looking boot. So now it's just a lot of little like wrappings and stuff. Right, now I'm gonna start busting out the cos clay just so I can create some pieces of leather that are pulling away from the surface. So we're gonna start with some of those buckles around his knee. Before we do that, we should probably do some texture. We should probably get the baked pieces of Sculpey out of the cos clay first, and then we'll do the texture. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna do the leg here. We're gonna do a couple snakes, and then the rest of it is going to be indents because I don't want to add too much. So we're just gonna do a couple big wrinkle swoops along the front here. All right, we got that. Now I need to go in and put that little weird texture on there. It's the first little piece of belt. I'm gonna go ahead and add the buckle. The buckle is round. Looks like all the buckles on this guy are round for the most part. Now we're gonna do this part of the pants here. Not really sure what's going on. So I'm gonna sculpt out these little teardrop shapes. Just sculpting what I see. That, and then he's got these little like straps holding that together. That's not good. That's how you know you put too thick of a piece through your pasta maker. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break and hopefully I'll come back later today or tomorrow. I think I got my work cut out for me and I'm liking where I'm at. So I'll be right back. All right, so my little break that I took ended up turning into a let's take off the rest of the night break, but that's okay. We got plenty of time. Let's get this guy finished up. So first glance, I like where I'm at. I think I got the majority of the hard part done. The only other hard part I think is going to be the hands. I'm actually really excited to paint this. It's gonna be like a relatively simple paint job, but there's a lot of little details that we can bring out with some dry brushing, and then I want to use, of course, some metallics and maybe even some glazes to show the different types of leather that are used on the costume. Yeah, so this will be fun. We're early on in the day. I'm ready to go. So let's go. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to keep working my way up his chest. And based on my lovely reference photos, he's got 3 more belts up there and then sort of like a shoulder wrap thing. So I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put his neck on and then we'll go from there. Now these other belts are way smaller than that big main one at the bottom there, so I'm just rolling out a very thin snake of clay for them. Let's get this through the pasta maker. Before I do this, I want to add that little patch that's in the front here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pre-bake this so that when I work on the arms, I'm not smashing everything that I've already completed. I'm going to bake this at the full time and temperature that I normally would for a finished sculpt, so that's like 40 minutes at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we're going to let them cool down, come back, and finish them up. So, I'll be right back. And we are back. I just sat on the couch for like an hour and I'm kind of tired. So we're gonna try to wake up a little bit. Okay, so he's baked. It looks pretty good. We're gonna start the arms next and then do the head and the hair and all that. So let's go. Now his arms are, I wanna say they're basically just like the legs in terms of like design for the most part, just different textures and like belts. So I just wanna shape out the armature wire before I start adding my clay. Make sure I've got my proportions correct. Looks like he's got some wrinkles in the shoulder area here. So let's go ahead and add some of those. Now before we finish those folds and wrinkles, let's talk about our sponsor, Skillshare. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. They have classes in graphic design, illustration, photography, animation, creative writing, film and video, freelance and entrepreneurship, and more. Skillshare is curated for learning, meaning there are no ads and they are always launching new premium classes. I always like the classes on productivity. One in particular that stands out is Productivity for Creatives, Build a System That Brings Out Your Best by Thomas Frank. In this class, he talks about having a professional mindset, building and using systems, and doing creative work more effectively and efficiently. There are so many great takeaways that I'm able to easily apply to my day-to-day productivity workflow. And even with all these great features and classes, Skillshare is incredibly affordable. It is less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. So honestly, no matter what 2021 brings, spend it creating something meaningful with Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership so you can explore your creativity. Now back to the video. That arm is looking pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of do the same thing on the next one. We're gonna add some like wrinkles and then some more little textury leather pieces like that. And I found a pretty clear picture, so I think I'm gonna be fine. Cause yeah, it's just like, he's got like this like pleather on like the entire arm, and then a couple belts, a couple straps. Now the next step is to start the blades, and these are just gonna be flat sheets of clay through my pasta maker. I'm gonna cut them to size, and then when they're done, then I'm gonna pre-bake them, and then when they're done baking, I will just have to like poke them into the hands, I hope. It looks like he's got like some like knives, scissors. Looks like there's a pair of pliers right there. All right, so I've got all of these cut out. We've got my cast clay and my super sculpty ones. I'm going to bake these, and then when they're done baking, we'll figure out which ones will be better for our sculpture. So I'm gonna go stick these in the oven, straighten them out really good before I start the oven, and then I'm going to come back and sculpt his head. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so now that I've got those little blades baking in the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and start the head. All right, now his head is going to be a pretty normal sized head. He's got very basic human proportions, so his head's gonna be in proportion with that. So let's get started. First, I'm just gonna cover this ball of foil with my clay, and I wanna start achieving the shape of the head. So for the most part, I wanna do this in Johnny Depp's likeness. Let's try to do it. Don't want it to be too big, so I'm gonna have to calm down a second here. A little bit smaller. As I'm sizing this, I'm just sort of pulling the clay to the back of the head instead of just like removing a big chunk of it. This just allows me to have a little bit more control over the shape. I don't want to just gouge off a big piece and then have to start all over. Because I like the shape that I'm at, I just want to shrink it a little bit. Add my skewer so I can hold on to this while I am sculpting the head, and then it's also making the hole for the neck once I attach it to the body. Trim this down a little bit. I'm gonna start by indenting the cheekbones a little bit, sort of mark where the eyes are. Eye number one. Let's do eye number two. Hopefully it goes as smoothly as that one did. That one went eerily smoothly. Normally that's not the case when it comes to eyes, especially when I'm trying to do a likeness. The eyes don't like to cooperate as much. Would you look at that? That eye went pretty smooth too. Alright, but they're just generic eye shapes. I need to make them look like Johnny Depp's eyes, which is going to be the tricky part. His eyes aren't super deep set, but they look like they're deep set because of the makeup. So we're going to give him a pretty pronounced brow. Nose, pretty straightforward nose, nothing crazy. I would say his most distinguishing features are definitely his cheekbones and his cheekbones. Maybe, you know, his eyes too. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie, I started to panic for a second there, and I didn't know what was gonna happen with this guy's head, but I think I'm at a good spot now. I think it looks pretty close to him, and then of course once we get all the paint on, it'll definitely look like the guy. Never realized like what nice features this guy has. Johnny Depp, man, he's got like nice lips, he's got a nice nose, he's got nice eyes, great jawline. Like, you got it going for you, buddy. I'm just gonna keep refining it just a little bit more, and we can switch our focus to the hands. Okay, now I need to add his ears. So this is where we're at with his head. I honestly can't complain. I'm gonna go ahead and attach it to his body now, and then I'm gonna do his hands. We're gonna bake him again. I'm gonna do his hair, then bake it one last time, and then we're gonna be ready to paint. Go ahead and fill in the space between his head and his neck here. Then we're gonna go ahead and add those belt choker things that he's got. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the hands. I've got my, I think this will stay straight. This is the Caius clay. I don't think it's gonna droop in the oven. Let's give it a shot. I'd rather use the Caius clay than the Super Sculpey, even though the Super Sculpey does have a little bit of give to it. It's still more breakable than Caius clay, so we'll just play it safe and use Caius clay. I can't really tell what's what. Now his hands are just like this part with the blade sticking out, I think. Kind of. I really don't need that really big piece of wire. Right now, the hands look pretty good. I'm going to start putting the little tiny scars on his face using, of course, more clay, and then clay softener and Bacon Bond to blend them in with the rest of his face. This is going to be a very tedious, intricate process because I don't want to screw up the face at all, but these are a very important part of the character, so I gotta make sure they look good. So I guess we're not gonna need the Bacon Bond. Brush this around. All right, there we go. He's ready for another bake. Then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna stick his hair on, and then we're gonna bake him again, and then we're gonna paint him, and he'll be done. I'll be right back. And we're back. All right, so we've got Edward all nice and baked here. He's looking pretty good. Got a little bit of drooping in some of these blades on this hand, but I think I'm just gonna support them before I bake them next time so I don't run into the issue again. And now we're gonna go ahead and give him some hair. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with them. So we're gonna start, as always, with some Bacon Bond on the scalp just to help that new clay adhere. Brush that on. Now he's got like really crazy, all over the place hair. So we're gonna see how this goes, because I've actually never done hair like this before. It's always like neat, clean looking hair. This seems pretty wild. So right off the bat, I can see that we're definitely gonna be using some Cos clay for the little wispy pieces that'll be coming off, and then the rest of it, we'll just use some of our Super Sculpey again. So first I just wanna get some of that excess Bacon Bond off. I went a little too crazy with that. All right, so let's get started. Now I'm looking at this action figure of him right here, and that hair seems like a little too much. All right, so he's kind of just got hair all over the place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna build up his hair, and then I'm just gonna stick a bunch of wispy pieces all over it, and then just kind of see what happens, because that's the first thing that's coming to mind. I can't really just take my like Explorer tool and draw in some lines and call it a day like you normally can with hair. This is gonna be a little more involved. Press that first layer on here. Oh, this is really bothering me, look at that, ugh. I might end up breaking his hand off and redoing these. To take this and start creating some random wisps all over the place. We're gonna try something. I'm gonna stick little pieces of foil in between these blades so that they stay straight, and I think that'll do the trick. All right, bake it like that, see what happens, and then if they come out bad, we're just gonna have to redo them. I'll be right back in 40 minutes. Alrighty, Aphrodite, we are back. He is baked and he is ready for paint. I did get some more drooping on the Cos clay blades, so if this really bothers me, which it kind of already is, I'm just going to cut those off and glue these other ones where they are. Let's get this guy painted. Okay, color palette. We've got some alizarin crimson, some pure black, some pure brown, some lilac ice, red violet, light peony, warm white, titanium white, and this beige color that is not folk art because I'm all out of my folk art beige. All right, so he has a very like pinkish, pale, dead skin color. So we're gonna go ahead and try to achieve that now. All right, we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna sculpt. I'm gonna paint his face first, and then we're gonna go in and do all this black everywhere. And he's got a relatively simple color palette, but I do wanna make sure that, of course, I take my time on it and I bring out all of these details that I put on there, and that's gonna be done by like dry brushing. We're gonna age the leather a little bit, and we're gonna have some fun. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do here is I'm going to mix his skin color, which is going to be a combination of light peony, beige, and I think warm white, maybe a little bit of brown. Also, my paintbrushes are across the room, so I gotta get those. Oh, and I also have these colors. I have platinum in Folk Art Treasure Gold, and then that Jacquard Lumiere bronze color. We're gonna kind of mix those together to create the color for all of the buttons and clasps and belt buckles and stuff that are all over this guy. Close the tool case. Don't need this anymore. All right, so he doesn't have very much color dimension in his face. That's for sure. It's all just basically one color with the very dark shading and circles around the eye area. Oh my God. Did you see that? It almost shot me in the eye. Good brush, good brush, good brush, really good brush. Don't forget you can blow dry the layers of paint as you go to speed up the drying process so you're not sitting here waiting. Alright, so I didn't use any of that pink color, so that was a waste. Shadows. Let's shade this guy up. Gonna add a little bit of brown to my skin color, and then maybe a little black too. So we're just going to dab inside the eyes. I think I want to highlight the eyes a little bit, give them a little more dimension. So we're just going to add a little ring of light brown at the bottom of each one. The little reflections that I'm about to add are going to make a big difference. Use some titanium white. Just going to add one to each eye. Now it's time to mix his lip color, which is going to be a wash. We can always get darker later if we want. How's that for you? Not bad, can't complain. Now it's time to basically paint everything else completely black, even the little silver areas, because of course we're gonna go over those with some metallics, and we all know that metallics go on best over black. All right, now that he's all dry, it's time to finish him up. Got that nice black base coat on. Now I'm going to dry brush all over the place with some brownish gray, and we're gonna bring out all those nice details that he's got, and then we're gonna go in with our metallic colors and get the little belt buckles and the, blades and all that. So let's get started. mix up a special color. And this is going to be just for certain parts. We're really gonna wear down that leather in some spots, but not everywhere. Just I'm gonna target some areas like that. See how good that looks? Been dying to paint this thing the whole time it's been on him. And then I'm not gonna go super thick because I want them to look a little worn out. I don't want them to look like brand new, shiny, like chrome pieces on him. Now I'm going to varnish some areas, make them look more like leather. Got some satin varnish, this part of the leg here. And then we'll glaze the eyes with some really shiny stuff. And he is done! My sculpture of Edward Scissorhands is complete. Let me know what you think of him in the comments. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is definitely one of my favorite pieces. I am really pleased with how he came out. He was a lot of work, but I had so much fun making him. I hope you had fun watching this video. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope you'll come back next week for my next video. Let me know what you think of him in the comments and who you want to see me sculpt next. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And then follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ace of Clay. I'm also on TikTok. And then in my Facebook group, Snakes of Clay. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.